my lid back on it, and I'm actually going to start my back burner. I have it on about a medium heat, and I'm going to move those to the back. So now those are pretty much done. That's your main meal right there, okay? You know that in probably 30 minutes, those are going to be nice and tender. They're going to be lovely tasting. It's going to give enough time for the gravy and the meat to blend together. And you don't have to really do a lot to it. It wasn't a whole lot of prep time. You know, we've taken a little bit more time here because I really wanted to show you just, you know, how to do it. But once you do it, it's going to be like this, you know, second nature. So our potatoes are done. Well, they will be done in about 5 minutes. They're done a little early. They're obviously done earlier than the meat. So I probably should have done it in the other order, but you get the general idea, right? So we're going to just let those simmer a little bit longer, and then I'm going to show you how to mash potatoes so that they're perfect for your meat and your gravy, okay? And then we're going to also do a vegetable here in just a few minutes. Now, some people like fresh vegetables, some people like frozen vegetables, and then some people do canned. Now you'll notice that when you get to my website, which again is cookingwithheather.com, when you get there, you'll notice that I use several different varieties. I'll cook with frozen one time, I'll do steamed fresh another time. But tonight we're using canned because again, we want to just go the simplicity. And you know, I don't think you can ever really go wrong with green beans. So that's the vegetable that I've chosen for tonight. So let's get that started. Let me grab the green beans. Got it. Let's see, how about this bowl? Okay, so where were we? We were on potatoes, right? Potatoes, potatoes. You can say it 100 different ways, but I'm Jewish. Of course, Jewish probably doesn't apply here. I don't know what does. My great-grandmother, Mac, used to call them potatoes. So now my grandma, who's almost 82 years old, calls them potatoes. So I'll probably always call them potatoes. Right? So what we're going to do next is we still have our pork chops over here simmering wonderfully, and they're smelling very good. And by now, everybody in your family is running to the kitchen asking you, "Oh, Mom, what is that?" I'm hungry, right? So what we're going to do next is we're going to do the mashed potatoes. Now we brought them to a boil. They're slipping off the fork nicely. As you can see, picking them up, slipping off the fork. Now they're not real mushy. You can see they're a little white right here, kind of clear toward the end where the skin is, which is okay. I always mash mine with the skin on it. But the first thing we need to do is we need to drain them real quick. So I'm going to go over to the sink here and drain them in the strainer, which will just take me a second. So we're going to get them in the strainer and get all the excess water off of them. Now, if you had a lot of potatoes, you know, like you have somebody coming over, you're having a barbecue or whatever, you could make a lot more, but obviously we're making just enough for a family of 3 or 4. And so I'm just going to use a bowl instead of mashing them inside the pot that I cooked them in. So, taking the water off of them, the only thing you really need to add now is a little milk, a little butter, and a lot of arm work, right? Well, not a lot, but hey, you know, it's a good workout. So the most important thing, you can see how steamy and hot these are. The biggest mistake I was making with potatoes was that I would wait till they cooled off and they got cold. And then I would start to mash them. So after a while I figured out, oh, if you do it while they're very hot, you'll never overmash them, and they never ever become pasty, right? So I have my little masher here. And depending on the consistency you like it, we're gonna go back to the butter. And you know, butter could be a sin, could be a love. It's just butter, okay? So we're gonna add a couple tablespoons of butter, and you can just blend it in. Then we're gonna grab a little bit of milk. And that's how we're gonna get a real nice stick together consistency, right? I'm gonna take this cold milk, not too much, just, you don't want it too runny, right? Some people prefer it creamier. If you prefer it creamier, add more, okay? So it really just depends. But if we kind of like ours a little lumpy and just enough of the liquid to for them to stick together like potatoes should, right? So I just start out with a little bit because I don't want to overdo it. Okay, so now you can see I've mushed these about 10 times, okay? And you have homemade mashed potatoes of a wonderful consistency. It's not like too thick, not too lumpy. I mean, these are perfect potatoes, and they only took 20 minutes, okay? The one thing is the one thing I did in this video is I started the potatoes first, and it was because I didn't have my prep done pre-time, and I wanted to show you the cuts of the potato, the quarter-size cuts. So all in all, when you do it at home, you'll want to start your pork chops and your brown gravy first. And the wonderful thing about this video is you can go anywhere you want in the video, you know, you can always hit rewind. So the one thing I would suggest is, you know, start your pork chops first because they do take a little bit longer to get them nice and going. I would say from start to finish, probably about 1 hour total for a nice falling apart pork chop. So now what we're going to do is I've got the green beans. Like I said, I chose canned because they're quick. You know, a lot of this meal took a little bit more time, and so the ending of it, you know, I just want to get this done and get it over with. So depending on the size of the family, you'll use 1 or 2 cans of the green beans. Just whatever maker of your choice. You know, some people like Del Monte, some people like Seneca, you know, some people like fresh, frozen, just depending however you want them. It's really your choice. But what I do is I drain the water out because a lot of people will use the water just to heat the green beans. But again, I have to go back to say there's nothing better than butter. So we're going to heat mine up in butter, and then you don't have the family needing the butter on the table afterwards. Your butter's not out all night. You know, you've used the right amount of butter for this whole meal. It's taken 1 full stick of butter, okay? So we're going to like that. We're going to heat those up. Now that's going to take however long it takes, you know, 3 minutes, maybe tops, to heat up. And in the meantime, the rest of your meal is pretty much done. You'll want to serve up, you can serve up your pork chops right out of your pan. You don't have to dirty any more dishes here, right? So